Boston, 1962. A city known for its cobblestone streets, its history, its quiet neighborhoods, suddenly turned into a hunting ground. Women were being murdered one after another in the safety of their own homes. No forced entry, no witnesses, just bodies left behind in positions so disturbing, detectives struggled to even describe them. They called him the Boston Strangler. But was there ever really just one? Or has the truth been buried beneath decades of fear, conspiracy, and silence? On June 14, 1962, 55-year-old Anna Sleezers was found dead in her apartment. She had been strangled with the belt from her own bathrobe. Her son, who came to visit, opened the door to find his mother on the kitchen floor, her body twisted, her dignity stolen. Detectives combed the scene. No broken windows, no forced door, nothing stolen. Whoever had killed Anna hadn't needed to break in. He had been let inside. The city didn't know it yet, but this was just the beginning. Only weeks later, another woman was found, then another, and another, each victim strangled, each murder inside their own homes. And the details grew darker. The killer didn't bring weapons. He used whatever was at hand, a scarf, a stocking, a belt. He turned household objects into tools of horror. Detectives began to see a chilling pattern. These women had trusted the man who killed them. He had walked in, calm and polite, like a neighbor, and once the door closed behind him, he became something else. Boston was paralyzed. Locks sold out in hardware stores. Women refused to live alone. Fear crept into every apartment building and every quiet street. The press splashed lurid headlines across the front pages. Mad Strangler stalks Boston. At first, the victims were older women, widows, women living quietly, alone. But then, the pattern changed. In December of 1962, 19-year-old Sophie Clark was found murdered in her apartment. She was young, vibrant, with her whole life ahead of her. The city gasped. The killer was evolving. No longer just targeting the vulnerable elderly, now no woman in Boston was safe. And still, there were no witnesses, no sounds of struggle, no sign of forced entry. The Strangler was like a ghost. By 1963, the body count was climbing. Women triple-checked their locks. They slept with lights on. They carried knives in their purses. The fear wasn't just in the shadows, it was in the daylight too. Because the Strangler didn't need the cover of night. He came in through the front door, with a smile, a convincing story, a polite request for help. Some survivors later described the man they'd let in. He claimed to be a maintenance worker, or a delivery man, or someone checking the heating. He was soft-spoken, charming, disarming, and then, in an instant, the mask came off. Boston wasn't just being stalked by a killer. It was being stalked by a man who knew how to get inside your trust, before he got inside your home. A convincing breakthrough has finally been found. A man named Albert DeSalvo was arrested not for murder, but for a series of sexual assaults. He had been breaking into women's homes, tying them up, assaulting them, then letting them live. During interrogation, something unexpected happened. DeSalvo began to talk, and what he confessed to made the room fall silent. He said he was the Boston Strangler. Every murder, every detail, and the most chilling part, he described crime scenes in ways only the killer could have known. But there was a problem. There was no physical evidence tying him to the murders. Not one fingerprint, not one eyewitness, nothing but his word. As DeSalvo's confession spread, Relief washed over Boston. The nightmare seemed over. But beneath the relief, doubt festered. DeSalvo's stories didn't always match the facts. Some murders had details he got wrong. Some had alibis that placed him elsewhere. Even investigators whispered among themselves. Was Albert DeSalvo really the Boston Strangler? Or was he taking credit for killings he didn't commit? And a darker question lingered. What if there wasn't just one strangler? What if Boston had been hunted by more than one predator? Albert DeSalvo never stood trial for the murders. He was convicted only of his sexual assaults, sentenced to life in prison. And then, in 1973, before he could ever be properly tried for the stranglings, DeSalvo was stabbed to death in his cell. The Boston Strangler was gone, but so were the answers. For years, the case lingered in limbo. Families of victims were left with questions that ate away at them. Then, in 2013, decades after the murders, science finally spoke. DNA evidence tied Albert DeSalvo to the murder of Mary Sullivan, the last known victim of the Strangler. It was proof that DeSalvo had, at least once, truly been the Boston Strangler. But here's the nightmare that still remains. His DNA was only tied to one victim. The others, still in the shadows, still unsolved. The Boston Strangler wasn't just one man. He was fear itself. He was the sound of footsteps in an empty hallway, the knock at the door late at night, the smile of a stranger asking to come inside. Albert DeSalvo is dead, but the questions he left behind will never die. Because in Boston, one truth remains. The Strangler may be gone, but his shadow still lingers. And if you want more stories told in this depth, more crimes that hide in the dark corners of history, make sure you subscribe, because the next story might just be darker than the last.